Wait a minute. Ah,
Sorry. Thank you so much, everyone, for your patience. We appreciate you all joining us today. I don't see. Hopefully, do we have? What is it? Stan, is that a quorum for four members?
I was there.
Thanks, Bob, for being on. We had some technical difficulties, but we got it now. Being our first meeting, we wanted to make sure, um, everything worked well. Stan, do we have a quorum or
I don't see
Yes,
anything.
four members is a quorum.
four?
Yes.
Yep, we have four. Today, appreciate that, Stan. Today, we'll just be discussing three bills just for discussion. Won't be voting on any of them, just since this is our first meeting for the Local Revenue Subcommittee of Ways and Means. So appreciate you all being here. I see Delegate Solomon is on already. So we can start with his bill, HB 805, just so he can go on and move on to where he needs to be. If you don't mind, Stan, could you just give us a synopsis of the bill?
Sure. So this bill is an optional local property tax credit, and it basically allows for the county. So basically, there's, as you heard at the hearing just this week, Habitat for Humanity will build an affordable home. They'll have a first mortgage that is less than the market rate that the homeowner would pay. And then there's a silent second mortgage there wouldn't be any payments made on, but would be paid off when the home is sold. So basically, this allows local governments to make up the difference between what the homeowner is paying and what the assessed value is, because the tax is due on the full market value. So it's basically just trying to help encourage affordable homes.
Thank you, Stan, for your synopsis. Appreciate that. Delegate Solomon, I don't know if you wanted to speak to your bill, if there's anything you want to raise in addition.
No, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I think Stan did a wonderful job, was a great partner in drafting it. So happy to take any questions, but just appreciate your consideration.
Thank you so much. Were there any questions for Delegate Solomon from any colleagues who are on? None?
If I could ask Stan something real quick, I'm just trying to clarify something.
Yep, go ahead, Delegate Long.
Okay, thank you. The tax assessment, what's going to happen is they're going to reduce the tax assessment once the house is done and occupied. Am I correct?
So no, so actually the assessment stays the same. This would just allow the local government to offer a credit for the difference between the assessed value and what the homeowner is actually paying.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks, Delegate Long. Any other questions for Delegate Solomon?
Thank Delegate Solomon for bringing the bill.
Thanks, Delegate Williams. Thank you, Delegate Solomon. Appreciate you.
Thanks, friends. Take care.
Yeah, no problem. We'll go to our second bill for today, House Bill 359. It's my bill actually, and we actually just got a request today. So Stan, first, if you want to go ahead and give a quick synopsis of the bill as well.
Sure. So this is an existing property tax credit. It's an optional credit for local governments for urban agricultural property. And this bill just makes some modifications to the requirements for the credit, such as removing the acreage requirements, removing the requirement that it be located in a priority funding area, and authorizing additional agricultural activities that would qualify.
Thanks, Stan. And I'll just speak to the bill just briefly. Just if you look at the fiscal note in particular, you'll see that the programs is only in Baltimore City, Montgomery County, and Prince George's, and have been undersubscribed for the past 3 years or since it's been implemented. And so this is the reason for us bringing the bill. There was, and I apologize, we just got an amendment request while we were on the House floor. But if you go to page 2, line 9, and the request was after composting, we also include agrivoltaics. I'm sorry, hydroponics, excuse me. I'm conflating bills. Hydroponics, which allows for that, standing right. It's another a way to grow vegetables and the like. And so found as a friendly amendment. We'll be sure to share that amendment around, but definitely want to open the floor for any questions on this bill.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask who submitted the amendment, the one you just brought up?
That was from Delegate Young.
Young? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Got a question.
Yes, sir, Delegate Long.
Hydroponics, has to do with water, or is that just the way they're grown? Like hanging from a basket or whatever?
Right. So hydroponics is up. Stan, sorry if Dick jumped in front of you.
But go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Stan.
Go ahead, Stan, if you want to.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's a soil-free way of growing crops or vegetables and such. And it can involve immersing the plants in water or in a water-rich environment. But I don't know if Delegate Roberson may know more about it than I do.
No, that's pretty much it. Yes, pretty much it.
I know they have a drip system or something, but I'm good with that.
Yes, sir. Yep, and it just circulates through as it goes through and waters the plant. Yep. Any other questions on this bill? Okay, so we'll make sure everybody has the amendment and share it with you all prior to us moving the bill anywhere, but Stan actually already has that, so we'll make sure we get that over to you all as soon as we're done with this. But that's the only change that we saw in that bill, and we can vote on that as well. Okay. That concludes discussion on HB 359. We'll move on to HB 753, Delegate Layman's bill. If you want to, Stan, give us the synopsis of that one.
Sure. So this makes a few changes to homeowner protections for people in tax sale. First thing is that it allows for a homeowner to designate a representative, which may be a family member, to work with the state tax sale ombudsman to resolve any issues with their property taxes. It requires local governments to basically develop a process to withhold from sale homeowners who have a terminal illness or medical hardship. And then it makes some changes to the homeowner protection program, which you all may remember was established a few years ago to help homeowners in tax sale. So for the homeowner protection program, it says that people experiencing a documented terminal illness or medical hardship would have priority for enrollment in the program. It also makes a change to the eligibility for the program. Right now, the dwelling has to be have an assessed value of 300,000 or less, and this would raise that to 450,000 or less. And that's it.
Thank you, Delegate Hartman. I just want to note before excuse me, thank you, Stan. But before we get to Delegate Hartman's question, just want to also note Delegate Layman wanted to offer an amendment. She's having it drafted as we speak, but one is to add at the end of paragraph E on page 5, if you go there, and she emailed it to us, but I did not get a chance to share with you all, but she wanted to add in particular that the Ombudsman shall promulgate regulations defining the term medical hardship for eligibility purposes for the homeowner protection program. And she added that line just because although she uses medical hardship in here and there's allowance for that, she wanted to be sure that that was defined based from the ombudsman's perspective. So that way individuals who might be initially declined, they have somewhere to go to say I fall within this category, or for those that are trying to receive allowances, they might be declined because they are not falling in that space. So we want to make sure that that was clearly defined as well. And we'll make sure we share that amendment with everyone once we have that as well. Delegate Hartman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I kind of allude to this during the hearing. I kind of think it's two separate issues. We talked a lot about people going into delinquency, because of a health event. A health event is kind of like a precursor to it. So raising the 300 to 450, I think, is one issue. The medical event is another. People with homes that are worth more than 450,000 could be, living alone and have a medical event that could put them into, a tax delinquency, just whether it's because of, mental health issues, whatever the case may be. I don't think medical events have any correlation to the value of somebody's house. So we're trying to help people. I mean, I know somebody that was a prominent attorney, because of a medical event. I saw his name in the tax sale, for his property. He just wasn't able to keep up on things. You could have a single person whose spouse is, passed away or something. So I just don't see the two being correlated. And I think there needs to be time limits, even on the terminal illness. My dad at 98 years old went into hospice care, which usually means you have 6 months or less to qualify. He got kicked out at 98 because his conditions were improving. He eventually died at almost 102. So there's only one person that really knows terminal illness, and that's the man upstairs. So, I think if we do this, we need to have time limits. Medical hardship, if the property is coded for a medical hardship or terminal illness, I don't think it should go in perpetuity.
Mr. Chairman, may I offer a little bit of information in response to Delegate Hartman's?
Sure. Yeah, thank you.
So just to clarify, so the bill actually doesn't connect the 450,000 threshold and the medical hardship, because the bill actually says that counties have to withhold properties owned by homeowners that have a medical hardship, and it's not connected to the value of the home. It's just if you have a medical hardship, they have to withhold. The change in the threshold of the value of the property is just for purposes of the homeowner protection program, which is a income limited program. You have to have a combined household income of under 60,000 to qualify. So they are actually treated as separate issues in the bill.
I appreciate you clarifying that. So that's good. So my only concern is that there has to be an expiration, because if the account's coded for terminal illness or medical, how long does that last? When does that coding fall off?
Right. So, or maybe we, and that was also a question that was raised, was not by you and not during the hearing, but somebody raised with me was, well, should terminal illness, usually if it's the doctor determines what is terminally ill, and but to your point, the times could change. To your point, Delegate Hartman.
My dad lasted, over 3 years after being, told take him to hospice and make him comfortable. So it's I just think we need to have some protection for the state or county.
If I might,
Go ahead, Delegate Long.
okay, I didn't want to interrupt. Couple of questions. One, what will happen if the if the house is held back for tax sale? What will happen once the owner passes away? Then there'll be a lien against the property, and the taxes will have to be paid. Am I correct the way it's going to be handled?
Yes, and after the homeowner passes, then they could take it to tax sale after that.
Okay. One last question. Well, another question. Unfortunately, a lot of times people, when they're ill, they have to go into hospice or into a nursing home. They don't have the hospitalization or no money to cover it. And usually what happens, the state actually takes and puts a lien on the property. I'm not sure how it's done, but what happens is, correct me if I'm wrong, Stan, basically if you go into hospice or whatever, you don't have insurance, the state pays for it, but then they put a lien against your property. Is there going to be a conflict of interest with this?
That's an interesting question. I actually don't know about that process of putting. So you're saying that the medical expenses, unpaid medical bills, that they could put a lien against the home for that.
Right.
I am not familiar with that process, but I could look into that some.
Right. Well, like if you go into a nursing home and they put a lien against your property, because nursing homes are expensive, God forbid.
Mhm.
And the other thing is, and I hate to keep throwing a wrench into the fan, what happens if they have what do they call it, reverse mortgage? I mean, there's all kinds of things, and I just want to make sure we're doing what's right. I think it's a great bill. Just want to make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's.
Thank you. I can look into that, those issues some more. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Long. Thank you, Stan, for that. I did want to note, I saw here that Mako also was favorable with amendments just to add for discussion. They just requested that that it, rather than require local governments to withhold additional properties from tax sale based on medical hardship, it asked that we authorize counties to do so instead of mandating it. And didn't know there's Delegate Lehman there. Hey, Delegate Lehman, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, you're good. We were just going through your bill. Delegate Hartman had some suggestions along with Delegate Long. And one thing I was raising just for the team is that if we can stop. One, I did inform them of your suggested amendment on the bill, going to define what it is. Excuse me. When you define what medical hardship is for individuals, so it's not just laid out, which there was no issue there from the committee. There was question one, I'll start where I just left off, was from Mako. They had they were favorable with an amendment to, rather than require, they were looking to authorize local governments to withhold additional properties from tax sale. And I didn't know if you had comment on that or thoughts around that, and anything else you
Yeah,
want to talk
I
about?
do not support the Mako amendment. I think that, you know, the fiscal note indicates, and we have testimony from a legal organization. They were not present at the hearing, but they talked about doing training for, you know, hundreds of people a year on this homeowner protection program. And that in like the last year or two, they've had 350 people attend their trainings, and literally only one, you know, in looking at my bill, only one person who attended their trainings, excuse me, out of more than 350 would have qualified for this program. So, you know, I don't think, you know, Mako's nervousness about like that this is going to somehow break the bank. And what it does say is there's two places in the bill, grab the bill, is that it says that Baltimore City and the counties, the 23 other counties, you know, can adopt or may adopt, you know, additional like rules around how to do this, how to do it more efficiently, find out, you know, get the word out to people who you know, who are terminally ill, which usually means you have 6 months or less to live, or if they qualify for a medical hardship. It doesn't say they must. So I'm not sure even what they're after with the authorizing, like giving them the option. And I don't, Stan, do you have the bill right in front of you by any chance? And you can see those two paragraphs I'm referencing.
Yeah, yeah. So and I think it maybe it's partly that there's kind of two parts to it. So there actually is a requirement on page 3 that the city and the counties withhold from sale properties owned by homeowners who have a terminal illness or medical hardship.
Right.
And then there's the separate provision which requires that for the purposes of the homeowner protection program that they be prioritized for enrollment. So yeah, so there's those two different places where the medical hardship shows up.
Yeah, and they would, I absolutely am not going to agree to any wiggle room on the fact that they have to withhold from a tax sale, you know, a property that qualifies, I should say the property owner, because in this case it's based on a human being and their health condition. You know, that's where you have these, you know, these horrible situations like you did with this family in Beltsville, where the, you know, property is sold, you know, the title is sold right out from under them, and they're so busy battling their illness, they're not even aware that they're late on their taxes. So you know, I don't, I glanced at the Mako written testimony, and I didn't really, I understand what they're asking for, but I don't understand why.
Got you. Okay, thank you for that. The other thing, and going to your point about terminal illness, and I was looking at this that Delegate Hartman raised, and I'm looking at this Delegate Hartman on page 3. In particular, Delegate Hartman just wanted to raise that terminal illness. You know, one could be deemed terminally ill, but may live longer than 6 months, you know, up to as much as 3 years, as he mentioned his father who lived beyond hospice care time period. And so I was looking at this Delegate Hartman in particular. I don't know if this kind of gets to what you're looking at. But it also asks that the on in page 3, what is that, number 2, big 2, the Roman numeral 2, where it says the governing body of a county may adopt additional methods for establishing a terminal illness or medical hardship in accordance with subparagraph 1 of this section. So they should be the ones to determine that, and that could include, I guess, a time period around how long an individual could be on the system. But I'll let you speak to just your thoughts, and maybe Delegate Lehman could offer some suggestions or answers to what you're raising in particular.
Yeah, can you tell me exactly what your thinking is, Delegate Hartman, or what your question is? Well, I'm pulling up the bill.
Sure, just that, if the account is coded that there's a terminal illness or a medical hardship, that doesn't just ride in perpetuity, because a medical hardship somebody's going to come out of, and terminal illness somebody may come out of as well.
Right.
I gave the example of my dad. He was 98 and went into hospice care. He was kicked out because he was improving. It's a great
Sorry,
problem to have.
I've never heard of
Well-
someone being kicked out of hospice care, so I guess that's a good
Well,
thing.
It is, and they didn't like the phrase "kicked out." They
Yeah.
called it "graduated," and it's not uncommon. It happens.
Yeah.
So anyway, he actually went in hospice 3 times before he passed away at 101. He was just 3 months shy of 102. So he lived a long time after that terminal diagnosis.
Right.
So I just think we need to put some kind of time frame, and then the family could come back, or that person can come back and then reinstate it or whatever for another 12-month or 18-month, 12-month period or something. I
Right.
just think we need to have, if it goes on the system, it needs to come off the system. It can't just ride in perpetuity.
Yeah. I think, we could, I get your point. I think that's going to be rare, but I get your point. But I think, there could be another tweak to paragraph E on last page of the bill. I think that's page 5, where it says the ombudsman shall develop a process to allow a homeowner enrolled in the program to designate a family member. I mean, that's the main thing, is that they're designating someone other than themselves to be kind of the go-between, but to communicate and work with the ombudsman. We could insert a few words in there. That's by the way, Chair Robertson, did you see, even though it's not in the form, I don't think yet, of an amendment in proper legislative form, as our attorneys say, did you get the wording of the amendment? Did you see that in writing?
Yeah, yes, we did, and we
Okay.
shared that as well with the committee.
Yeah.
Briefly
So
to-
that's an addition to paragraph E. Stan, did that seem right to you, to add that language about regulations?
I actually think that probably should be drafted differently, because that paragraph E on page 5 is about the homeowner protection program. So
Okay.
the ombudsman already has authority to adopt regulations to implement that program. So I
Okay.
think for that purpose, we're covered. I think where there might be a need for a definitional clarification would be on the requirement for withholding from tax sale that applies to local governments.
Okay.
And
But
so
the
I think-
wording is okay. It's just the placement is what you're saying should be different.
I think so, yeah. If your intent and the intent of the subcommittee is that the ombudsman decide what a medical hardship is, then I think that could be
Okay.
drafted. I would just
I
put it-
obviously defer to your counsel, Chair Robertson. I just was taking a stab at it. I looked at paragraph E, but then back to Delegate Hartman's point, where would you think a tweak about saying, that the ombudsman, shall reevaluate, or whatever that looks like, I don't want to make it too broad, like periodically, because then what's the definition of that? But shall reevaluate.
Could we say it would have to be renewed annually?
Should we review? Are you saying?
Renewed the whatever we're going to
Right.
call it, the flag or the exemption should be renewed annually. Whatever it is we're calling that, we're calling this.
Yeah, instead of just periodically. I
when
don't
it's-
know if I don't want to inadvertently create, a more of an administrative burden. I wish somebody, were on here from the Ombudsman's Office or SStat. I don't know what that would look like. I don't know, Stan, if you have any insight about that.
Yeah, so I can tell you that the ombudsman does not deal directly with, what properties go to tax sale and which don't. That's a county function. And so The ombudsman wouldn't be involved in that. So that would be, I think it's really something that the counties should be required to do. If you all want them to reevaluate the homeowners periodically, that should be a requirement for the counties, not for the ombudsman.
But if-
We don't have
Yeah.
link, but I guess, so that would deal with page 3 is what you're saying, Stan, under directors we give the mayor and give Baltimore City and the counties. It would deal, there is where it would go, where it says they must reevaluate or reapply.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. And so, yeah, the ombudsman runs their office to provide various assistance, and they run the homeowner protection program. But they're not involved in the actual process of administering the tax sale and determining which properties go to tax sale and which do not. So that's something that the counties would be doing.
So to Chair Robertson's point, if I'm understanding you, Mr. Chairman, and taking Delegate Hartman's idea, would on page 3, the paragraph 2, that was the paragraph I referenced earlier in response to Mako's concern about authorizing the mayor and city council of Baltimore City or the governing body of a county may adopt additional methods for establishing a terminal illness or medical hardship, and period, or even if that's what Delegate Hartman is after, if it's not too big a burden, that and shall annually or may annually, review reconsider a person's status.
Yep, I think that's what
We
we're
can
going.
deal with the wordsmithing, but I'm asking you, Stan, if that's the right place for that. It
Yes,
is. It is.
absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, so I'll work, Delegate Lehman, I'll work with Delegate Hartman. Go ahead, Delegate Hartman, because we're coming up on time, because I know other folks have other subcommittee. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just think if we put the homeowner or representative of shall reapply annually. So
Okay.
then it's already a given that this doesn't last for more than a year, and then that person reapplies, as opposed to the office, because if they can't reach someone for whatever reason, if they've passed away or whatever,
Yeah.
then you know what I mean, that account's coded,
Right.
and it may be
And
tied
it
up.
automatically expires, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be worried about creating, and now I would be a little more concerned that it annually, might be too often. I would be worried about creating another layer in there where the person's designee then is, gets busy with things and forgets, and then doesn't, get reauthorized, and then the property ends up in a tax sale after all this, after we pass this law to try to, provide, guardrails for people who are really vulnerable. And yeah, I understand that people who are terminally ill may sometimes exceed their, the life expectancy. But again, that's not that common. And if they exceed it, it's not going to be by that much. I mean, that's pretty atypical that someone goes years and years. It can be, but that would be my concern, that it would create, doing that could create unintended consequences.
Well, thank you, Delegate Lehman. Well,
Yeah, it's your bill now. I turned the bill over to you, and
Yeah.
so I'm
well,
going
we're gonna
to, yeah.
find the best way. I'll work with Delegate Hartman, yourself, and Stan to try to craft this. We'll bring this back next week
Okay.
for us to look at, and we'll have all those amendments that were proposed. But
Yep.
thank you all once again for this.
Thanks
and
for your
we'll somebody from
consideration.
SDAT and Mako on as well next time as well. Thank
Thanks
you.
for the
everyone.
invite.
We're
All right.
adjourned.
Take care. Bye. I gotta